is your New Year's going? What have you been thinking about? What kind of changes do you want to start making in the new year? Because, and I'm not going to talk about this too often, but too often we decide that this year is going to be different, and then we kind of give up, right? Like whether it's like, okay, I'm going to start creating more deeper, more honest, more loving connections, and then we end up stopping, or we end up in paralysis because we don't know how to do that. And so first of all, I want to welcome you all to the Beat Your Anxiety group. This is a group for people who have tried everything when it comes to reclaiming their lives from anxiety. Perhaps you've been going to therapy for years, you've been trying out meditations on YouTube, you've downloaded some of these apps, right? I think there's like Noom, and I'm hearing a lot of my clients trying different apps. And while it can be helpful in the moment, right? Like these apps can be helpful in the moment, right? Nothing's really sticking. And what this group is really dedicated to is to helping you fill in that gap of what's really missing, why things aren't sticking, and why people end up why people end up leaving therapists and starting to go see hypnotists and, they end up going the natural healing route, right? Why do people end up unsatisfied with the old route, right? Of going on antidepressants, going from doctor to doctor to doctor, and living with your psychiatrist the rest of your life. So this was the journey I was on. I was on a bunch of different medications, and I found that by going to psychiatrists and therapists, the only thing they could really do for me was put me on a prescription drug, or we kind of just talked about things, like we tried to make sense of things, but nothing was actually changing. And maybe this has been your experience, right? Like you're bringing clarity to what's going on in your life, why the anxiety is happening, but you don't know how to fix it. You don't know how to fix it. And so that's what this group is really dedicated to, is to help you filter and just, just to get through all the BS out there and start to really realize that anxiety and being anxious really just comes down to a habit. Like this just ends up being something that we stir up inside of ourselves. And the thing is, most of us don't really realize that this is something we're doing. And so I'm here to teach you how you keep creating your own anxiety. Okay? So today we're going to talk about, after the last video, I realized we really needed to talk about intimacy. Because if you don't have a clear understanding of what is missing inside of you, why you're not attracting, why you're not magnetizing the things that you really want in your life, it's because there's this intimacy that's missing inside of yourself. And we're going to talk about what intimacy actually is. So today I really want to start off this video by talking about what is intimacy actually. Because oftentimes when I say this word, people start to think things like, oh, intimacy, like, oh, sex, right? Physical touch. And that's what the market teaches you. That's what society teaches you. That's not the only type of intimacy there is. In fact, if you don't know about these other types of intimacy, you are definitely going to struggle in your relationships. If you think being intimate, that's the only way to be intimate, this is why you're struggling with honest and authentic connections. Because here's a great example. When I work one-on-one with somebody, that's an intimate setting, right? They're sharing things that are very private, that can be scary to them, right? That's a very intimate way of connecting, is like a therapist to a patient, or, me with a client, or a doctor with a patient, a coach with a client. If it's one-on-one, that's very intimate. And even small groups can be very intimate. So what is intimacy? Really, intimacy really just denotes it's a mutual vulnerability, openness, and sharing. So if you're struggling with creating authentic and honest connections, do you have these things? Is it mutually vulnerable? Are you being vulnerable as well as your spouse or your partner? Right? Oftentimes I see things are very one-sided in relationships. Like one person is sharing and the other person is just like sitting there and they're just like listening, and the other person isn't doing the same. Then now there's an issue here. This relationship won't go far. And a mutual openness and a mutual sharing. So many times I see relationships today as two people who just maybe live together, who aren't sharing things. I can't even tell you how many restaurants I've walked by or how many parks I've walked by where a couple is sitting on the bench next to each other on their phones. I was driving home one day and I could see inside of an apartment. Not that I wanted to, I was in my car, but I actually could see someone's living room from my car. And what did I see? I saw a couple sitting on a couch, both just staring at their phones. And I don't see that as intimacy at all. There's no intimacy there. If you're just living with someone and you spend more time on your relationships with the people on Facebook or on your phone than you do with the person sitting next to you in your own house. That's very flaggy. That there's something going on there. And it's very sad that people are more concerned with what everybody thinks on Facebook or on social media than what their partner thinks, the person they're living with. Right? Isn't that messed up? How is Facebook going to help you? How are the 2,000 people who follow you on Facebook, or whatever, 500, how are they going to help you with the relationship? Why not communicate with the person who's involved with you? Right? If you're more worried about what other people think than your own spouse or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, then this relationship is not going to go far. And I'm going to talk more about the blocks to intimacy later in this video. So what else is intimacy? It's a deep knowing of another person. And also it's you also being deeply known by someone else. This is intimacy. This is closeness. And again, go back to your current relationships. Is it currently one-sided? Do you maybe end up sharing more and investing more than the people who are in your life? Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe the other people are investing more and you're kind of just sitting there, right? Not really making much of an effort. That's also very one-sided. So I'm going to run down the 4 types of intimacy here, because it's not all about sexual intimacy. And what was really disappointing as I was putting together this live event, first of all, is this resonating with you? Like, what's clicking for you? Put it in the comments. What is clicking for you as I'm talking here? What's missing from your relationships? I'm asking you guys watching. Put it in the comments. What's missing from your relationships as you hear me talk now? Is this new? Is this news? Or is this kind of like, I already know this? So we've got 4 different types of intimacy here. And if you struggle with anxiety in your relationships, I can tell you there's an intimacy issue. And it's usually between you and yourself. Because if you struggle with intimacy with others, meaning you struggle with deeply knowing others, you struggle in really getting to know others. And I'm not just talking about their favorite food or their favorite color. I'm talking about their deepest fears. what their dreams are, what their goals are. You know, what their wounds are, what their biggest struggles are. That's getting to know someone. But so many relationships today are very surface level. Like, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite restaurant? Or where do you like to go hiking? How about questions like, why do you like to hike? What does that do for you? Really getting to understand a person's motivations and drives. So the first type of intimacy. Yeah, yep. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later. There's one of the blocks to creating intimacy is going to be it's because you're living in your wounds, and there's this fear that the same thing is going to happen again. And we're going to touch on that a little bit later, but thank you for sharing. So emotional intimacy. Here we go. This was a great segue from what just shared. Emotional intimacy. I'm just looking at my notes here. Basically, a candid sharing. Emotional intimacy is the first type of intimacy. It's a candid sharing of thoughts and feelings, and where you're telling each other your deepest fears, your deepest disappointments, your dreams, and your emotions. And also, what's important here is that you're refraining from judgment. If you're judging somebody when they're sharing with you, boom, you're already blocking intimacy right there. You're blocking intimacy right there. That's an opportunity to connect, to allow someone to be who they are. And if you're going inside your head like, wow, this person's this or this person's not this, that right there is a block to intimacy. So when you're being emotionally intimate, it's about allowing that other person to share their deepest feelings, right? Like I said, their disappointments, their thoughts, very candidly. And you're saying everything about that is okay. You're not making them wrong. Because put yourself in their shoes. Would you want someone to make you wrong when you're sharing your emotions or your thoughts? Would you want someone to like judge you if you are sharing the deepest parts of yourselves? Of course not, right? That's like we would feel probably attacked or shamed. And I know this happens in relationships very commonly. You know, people are waiting to judge and respond versus just listening. And again, just if you only listen to someone because you're waiting to respond to them, you're not present. I just had a guy tell me to leave him alone when I tried to be his friend, so I pushed him away. Yeah, stop trying. So here we're talking about success in relationships is very counterintuitive. Stop trying. When you're trying, it implies you have to try. It implies you have to like do something outside of what's naturally supposed to happen, right? So yeah, I mean, stop trying to make things happen and let things happen. You want to let things happen. You want to trust that as long as you're available, as long as people have access to you, as long as people know and it's obvious you're available as a friend or a partner, whatever it is that you're trying to attract, you got to trust that other people aren't stupid. Men, for those of you ladies here who are dating, men are not stupid. If they choose not to come after you, if they choose not to pursue, that's because they've chosen not to. Even this goes for any relationship, right? When you apply to a job and they don't pursue you, you don't hear back from them. They're not interested in you. They're not interested. For whatever reason, they don't see you as an alignment. That's okay. It's just because you're not in alignment. For whatever reason, your values are different, amount of emotional availability is different. Again, It just means you're in different places. That's okay. So I did everything wrong. I don't know how. Yeah, the thing is, if you're trying to make things happen, it's not meant to be, right? If you have to try and force a relationship to happen, it's not meant to be. Let those relationships be. Stop attaching your goals to a person. This was probably one of the most powerful things I've ever had someone tell me, is stop attaching your love and your relationship goals to a person. Just stop attaching them to a person. Attach yourself to your goals, not a person. Keep yourself attached to your goals, not a person. And this will keep you sane. Practicing this is going to keep you from losing your mind. Stop attaching to people, attach to your goals, and do not let go of them. And whoever fills that place, whoever gets magnetized to your goals, that's the person. And I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole today. This is a conversation for another time. How to really attract and magnetize the right people in your life. And we got to be careful of our definition of right here, right? So the second type of intimacy, before we go off track here. So we've talked about emotional intimacy, which is where a lot of people struggle, especially if you're a people pleaser. If you're a people pleaser, you probably fear rejection and abandonment when you're sharing from your heart, right? I nailed it, right? I get it. I've been there, right? Who does that resonate with? You fear rejection and abandonment. If you talk about something that upset you or something that made you unhappy or a struggle or somehow you're suffering, you're going to get kicked to the curb because you have a problem. Like this video, if this is resonating with you, what I just said here. Or put me in the comments. Put me in the comments. If that just hit home, you fear rejection and abandonment. The second type of intimacy is going to be intellectual, which is really going to be being able to communicate your viewpoints about things. So being able to communicate your viewpoints about like a book or, politics or education. Each person has a freedom to think for themselves. I am going to say this again because this is so important. In order to have true intimacy in your relationship, you have to allow the other person the freedom to think for themselves. Because again, put yourself in their shoes. Wouldn't you want to be in a relationship where somebody's allowing you to think for yourself and to do the things that are best for you? Right? Yeah. So allow people to think for themselves. Going back to just what you're saying, allow that person to think for themselves. Stop trying. Stop trying. Trying is going to push people away. Trying energy, that energy you're in when you're trying, pushes people away. And I'm going to talk about more about energy in the future. I don't talk about energy much here because most people won't understand what I'm saying. But the state you're in when you're trying to make a relationship happen, you're doing all the work, you're pursuing, you're doing your homework, right? That pushes people away. And I'll talk about why a little bit at the end of this video and as well as in the future. So intellectual intimacy is when you can be together and you can share your opinions and views about politics or the education system or your favorite subject in school or a book that you read, an article you saw, a documentary. It's an intellectual conversation where you're both free to think for yourselves and you both respect each other's voices. You both respect each other's voices and opinions. Okay? The next one's going to be experiential intimacy. Experiential intimacy, where you're sharing private memories, where you're sharing events. Maybe you run a marathon together, you cook together. It's like a teamwork. You're in that teamwork dynamic. You go hiking together, you go on an adventure together. That's more experiential intimacy. Sharing private memories, you're discovering things, like I said, adventure and travel. So this is more experience. And that can also include sex, right? And the last category of intimacy is going to be spiritual. So spiritual intimacy, which is not necessary, by the way. You know, in order to have true intimacy in your relationship, you may not be spiritual, and that's okay. You may be more religious, and so maybe you're more intimate because you share the same religion, right? You go to the same church. But spiritual intimacy is going to be really sharing some of the deepest moments you have with others. So it's those poignant moments in your life that you share with others. Maybe you just had an insight, like the universe just gave you something. You just had an important insight. You just learned something and you share that with someone else. Or there's a place you like to go. There's a hike you like to go on that helps you tap into who you are and the deepest parts of yourself. That's also spiritual intimacy. Worshiping together, doing retreats together, meditating together, inner healing work. You're sharing what you're going through as far as your healing journey, and you're discussing your purpose in life. That for me is a necessity. Like being able to talk about my purpose with someone else who also knows their purpose. So spiritual intimacy is important for me. But it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be religious or spiritual. Whatever works for you, as long as you're both accepting of each other, you can have that intimacy. So these are the 4 types. And think about what's missing from your relationships. Is it emotional? Is there a lack of emotional sharing and vulnerability? Put it in the comments. Which one of these 4 do you feel like you're missing? Is it emotional? Is it intellectual? Is it experiences? Are you not maybe sharing enough experiences? For those of you watching, put it in the comments. Which one is it? Or which of how many of these? And maybe is there more than one? Spiritual intimacy. Which ones are lacking in your relationships? Comment below. Again, this is an opportunity to get some free coaching. I'm not here to just talk at you. So take this opportunity to share, to get some feedback. And so what I want to, emotional is going to be the big one. I think most people struggle with this one because there's just what's bigger here, where people really struggle is that most people, in fact, I think everybody really truly desires a deeper connection with everybody. Everybody does. Who wouldn't want that, right? Who wouldn't want that? But the bigger fear here is being hurt or disappointed. Thanks for sharing. Is it Lillimore? I know I'm probably butchering your name. I apologize. But for those of you watching, what else is lacking in your relationship? Okay, Jess, so here's what I'm going to tell you. I know this is going to be scary. This is going to be counterintuitive to what you have been doing. I need to read Seymour here. Or hit Seymour. I feel like I lack blah, blah, blah. I lack emotional intelligence and intimacy with myself. Yep. So Jess, what's going to be helpful for you is, first of all, you got to get out of this energy. And what I mean by that is stop trying right now. Stop trying, because trying energy for you is going to push people away. So actually what you need to do to be successful is nothing. Just stop all of that right now. Just stop all of that. Stop trying to make anything happen. In fact, from this moment forward, at any point when you're trying to make something happen, don't do anything. Because that's going to flip the dynamic. That's going to flip your energy into more magnetizing energy, to like allowing things to come to you versus you trying to pursue and make things happen. Especially if you're on the feminine side of your relationship, stop trying to do anything. Stop trying to make things happen. That's not even your role if you're on the feminine side of this. And I know it's going to seem scary, right? Like, well, if I don't do anything, then nothing's going to happen, which is a belief. Which is also, that means it's not the truth. So, no, So to answer the question, is there a way to make it better? No, stop trying to make it better. Stop trying to make it better. And allow space for the right things and people to come to you. Think of it like this. Let's say this is the other person, this is you. If you're always going after them, if you're always trying and trying and trying, you're always like there, you're always in front of them, you're always talking to them, you're always available for them, there is no room for them to come to you. There is no space for them to come to you. There's no space for them to meet you because you're always over here making stuff happen. It's time to stop. Let that person be who they are. Show up as who they are. And see if they come to you. Isn't that what you want? The people who want to be with you to be with you? Is that your goal? Is to make something happen or to just allow the right people to come to you? Because it sounds like you have to shift your goal there. So here are the blocks to emotional intimacy. Here's the top blocks. Yeah. Rachel, is this helping you? Let me know what's resonating with you guys. Like, what am I saying? What is sticking out for you? Like, what has been your aha moment as we're talking here? What has been your aha moment? And so what are the blocks to intimacy now? Again, what we just said, you have a desire, but you're more afraid of fear and disappointment. You're holding on to negative experiences. Another huge block to intimacy. You're holding on to negative experiences from the past and you're projecting them on this relationship in front of you. Yeah. I'm telling you, what will bring someone to you is not what you do. Look, here, I want you to all memorize this. Drill this into your head. Even if this doesn't make sense, just hear me out here for a minute. What brings someone to you, whether it's a client, whether it's a guy, a partner, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a friend, what brings someone to you is not what you do. It's not what you do. It's not what you do. It's not your accomplishments. It's not what's on your resume. It's not the kind of car you drive. It's not, whatever your business is or what job that you have or how famous you are. That is not what brings people to you. First of all, that may bring people to you, but you won't keep people. That may attract someone for a hot second, then they'll be gone. Same with looks. You can be the most attractive person in the building. That'll keep someone's attention for a second, and then they'll be gone. So these things do not bring people to you, really. Trying, that energy you put out when you're trying. What brings people to you is the energy, is energy. And your energy comes from your emotions, from your emotional state in your body. And when you're in a certain emotional state, you put out a vibration. Confidence is a very powerful vibration. Do you all feel my vibration right now? Confidence is a very powerful vibration. Like, have you ever felt like somebody was behind you, but you haven't looked it, but you felt someone behind you looking at you, but you didn't look, right? You just felt it, and then you turned around and you saw someone behind you because you're feeling their vibration. Anxiety is a very weak energy. Anxiety, self-consciousness, nervousness is a very weak energy. You won't pick up anybody but other weak energy people. You'll pick up other weak energy people and you'll pick up predators. So here's the cost to sitting around in negative energy. Sitting around in disappointment, sitting around in fear, sitting around in anxiety, sitting around in panic, sitting around in anger. These are all very weak energies, and you will attract people with the same energy. It's not about what you do, so stop doing, Jess. Just stop doing. Focus on your state. Focus on the vibration you're putting out. That's what's bringing you these people. So what kind of vibration do you need to be in to attract what you want? That's the question here. It has nothing to do with the things you do. It's how you feel in your body. And I'll do another video about this. How to step into a frequency, the vibration that attracts what you want. Because that's what this is all about, right? And a great example, if you want a more clear understanding of energy, think about it like this. Have you ever walked inside of a room with people in the room and you saw someone and you're like, whoa, I'm not talking to them. Ooh, they gave off some kind of energy that was like anger. They were sitting there and you're like, whoa, not going near that, not going near them. You picked up some kind of energy, right? Have you ever done that before? Like, let me know below. Does that resonate with you? This is just an easy example. Have you ever been around someone where it doesn't feel safe? And on the flip side, have you ever been around someone where it's like, oh my God, I feel like I can be myself. I feel like I can just relax. That's because of the vibration they're giving off. So we're going to go, so before we finish that tangent here, let's circle back to the point of this video. What are the other blocks to intimacy? Anger and self-righteousness. Again, I just talked about anger. Self-righteousness also will block intimacy. If you're self-righteous and I deserve everything without even earning it, that's going to block intimacy. And you'll also only attract people pleasers, by the way. If you're self-righteous, you're only going to attract other wounded people, like really wounded people. So stop being self-righteous. There's nothing wrong with anger, first of all. In intimacy, anger is a good thing. You're going to get angry from time to time. Where this becomes an opportunity is that you can take that anger and share it, right? You can say a great way to, when you're in an intimate, loving, caring, trusting relationship, you should be sharing that anger, but not taking it out on someone. Yep. Yeah. So get out of the vibration, get into the vibration that's going to be helpful for you. And watch your life transform. It's going to be amazing. You just won't even attract these people anymore. Really toxic people won't even come near you. They just feel your vibration. They don't feel any weakness, so they're not going to come near you. The next block to intimacy is poor modeling. You had poor modeling as a child. Your parents did not model to you healthy intimacy or intimacy at all. Another block for people. You don't have a role model for this. You don't know what it looks like. You don't know how to talk. You don't know how to share. You don't know how you're supposed to feel when you're actually truly intimate. That's another block. You just don't have role models. Another block is an inability to communicate feelings or speak out. And again, this circles back to emotional intimacy. An inability to communicate feelings or speak out, not speak in, speak out, get it out. That's where people struggle a lot the most. And the number one issue you struggle with intimacy with other people is because you're not intimate with yourself. If you don't have intimacy with others, it's because you're not intimate with yourself. What is intimacy with yourself? Everything I just talked about here. Going back to my notes. You're vulnerable with yourself. Now we're talking about removing these blocks to intimacy. Are you vulnerable with yourself? Do you share with yourself? Are you open with yourself? Do you accept yourself? Because if you don't, here's why you lack intimacy in your relationships. Because you don't accept yourself. So that has to change. That has to change before you can expect anybody else to be able to share with you. Do you respect yourself? So how do we start removing these blocks? How do we start to move in this direction here as we wrap up here? First of all, it's time to affirm that you want it and you're willing to change for it. Do you want it? Put yes or no in the comments. Do you want intimacy? Do you want to be able to be in a relationship where you're safe to share anything? And you're accepted for that. And that other person does the same with you. You want someone else who's doing the same with you. You want that mutual contribution, or else if it's just one-sided, again, it's just, So put yes in the comments. Do you want that? Or are you undecided? Are you willing to change for it? That's the first step here. A lot of people aren't willing to change for it. A lot of people are self-righteous, and that they think they've earned the right to go out and hurt people. I'm telling you, nobody ever earns that. How to start to get rid of these blocks? Start investing more into your relationships. Like, if you don't typically ask someone how their day is going, ask them how their day is going. Yeah, it's going to seem scary. Yep. But what's scarier? Here's what will help. What is scarier? These few minutes of discomfort that you're going to share, or going through the rest of your life without closeness and sharing and mutual respect and intimacy? What's scarier now? A few minutes of discomfort and sharing, or going through the rest of your life like this? What's scarier? And when I asked myself this question, it became really easy. I will take the few minutes of discomfort easily, rather than going through the rest of your life with shallow, unloving, unsupportive relationships. Yeah, it all starts with you, Lillian. Thanks for sharing. It all starts with you. The relationship with what you have with yourself is going to mirror the relationships you have with others, and vice versa. The relationships you have with others is going to mirror the relationship you have between you and yourself. So look at your relationships with others. Realize this is going to mirror what's going on inside of you. And the next step is to ask yourself the question is, what needs to change so that I can begin to share all of these things we talked about, my fears, my goals, my dreams, the deepest parts of myself, my emotions. What needs to change so that you can do that? Maybe you need a different relationship. Maybe it's just not possible with the person you're with. I don't know. Or maybe you just haven't tried yet. Yep. So just recognize, I feel now I only meet people that will hurt me. First of all, recognize, you can't live life without being hurt. You're going to get hurt from time to time. So there's this sort of tough skin that sort of needs to be built around hurt, because you can't avoid hurt and pain in life. You just can't avoid these things. You can minimize it, right? You can minimize it in the right environment, but you can't avoid hurt. If you go through life avoiding hurt and pain, you will not have anything, really. You won't really have much. So that's the first thing to recognize, is that, you're going to be hurt. It doesn't matter who you're with, right? I've been hurt in relationships with like my closest friends. That's okay. Nobody's out to get you. Nobody's out to hurt you for the most part. There are people out there who are malicious, but that's not the majority of the demographic. Another way to start to remove this block is to seek truth over your ego. Seek truth over your ego being right. Start to commit to truth over you having to be correct all the time. Because most of the time we're not correct, guys. Most of the time we're not correct. Seek truth over you being right. Learn to fight fair in your relationships. Learn to fight fair. Oftentimes we fight. It's very one-sided, all or nothing, all me, all you. No more of that. Learn to fight fair when conflict occurs. Establish and assert boundaries. This has to happen if you want intimacy. This has to happen if you want intimacy. Part of intimacy is being able to set boundaries and having them respected. That's a part of intimacy. To learn a healthy way to manage and engage in conflict. Another thing that will help you start to create more intimacy in your relationships, learn a healthy way to engage conflict. And finally, practice being in your body and speaking from your heart with yourself. Practice allowing yourself to show up as you are fully. As with all of your fears, admit to yourself all of your fears, all of your goals and dreams, all of the deepest parts of yourself, how you're feeling. Allow yourself to do that, to open up to yourself, to accept yourself, even the parts of you you're not proud of. This is the key here. And only when you can hold space for yourself, you will be able to hold space for someone else. And this is the most attractive energy you can put out there. If you want to attract everybody plus other healthy people who are going to do the same for you, you got to put out an energy of, I am amazing as I am. I'm not talking about self-entitlement. I'm talking about, I am perfect. I am lovable. I am worthy of everything I want. And I also get to continue to work on myself and become better every day. That type of energy is going to be super, super, super powerful vibration. Everybody's going to feel you when you walk into the room. I walk around everywhere like this. You will turn heads everywhere you go. And then you will attract people who have that same accept themselves and who can hold space for you. So you got to think about, who do I want to attract now? And what's the energy I need to put out to attract that person? How exciting is that? You can stop doing all the things now. Just stop doing all the things, guys. Isn't this amazing? Drop the mic. Stop trying to make things happen. Stop doing favors for people. Stop trying to manipulate people. Stop trying to convince people you're amazing or you're worthy. Stop trying. Stop doing. Especially if you're the female side of this relationship. Stop it all. And you just want to become that safe place to hold space for intimacy and sharing and vulnerability, and mutual vulnerability. That is such a powerful and such a magnetizing place to be. If you ever had someone tell you, like, I don't know why, but everybody just, like, I feel safe to say anything to you. I feel like I can share anything with you. You're already doing it right. Yep. So this is going to be another video. How do I believe and embody these things? So this leads me out to how I'm going to close out with this. If you want to learn this, if you really want to get really good at having, creating honest and authentic connections, January 15th, I am holding an event with 2 other masters in the area of authenticity, consciousness, and deeper connection. January 15th. Sign up before Wednesday. You get a huge discount. There's 2 options. You can get 50% off or 60% off. I am going to drop this in the comments here. Sign up for this. Like, these are some of these are the top leaders in the world in the areas of honesty and connecting deeper and in consciousness and self-awareness. And I will be there as well as a speaker. And it's a 2.5 hour event. We have a short lunch, maybe a 10 or 20 minute lunch. This is going to be a jam-packed, filled event with everything I've talked about and way more. If you're tired of pushing people away, and having to chase after them, and you want to just naturally bring people closer, you have to learn this. You have to learn to be honest and authentic with yourself. So let me see if I can drop this link here. Let's see if this works. Okay, well, I'm going to drop this link below this video. I don't know if I can do this from my phone, But sign up for this event. I'm going to put it in the comments just after we finish up here. Sign up for the event. You get a huge discount before Wednesday at 11 p.m. I have 2 other masters in the area of really building true, authentic connection and honesty. We're actually going to take you through exercises. We're actually going to have you doing stuff and practicing this stuff. So you don't want to miss this, especially if this is your goal for the new year. The 2 speakers I have on here are such a wealth of information. I had 2 of them. Both have been on my summit. Both of them have been on my summit. So if you know Michael Kolb, he was on day 3, I think, he was the Radical Honesty CEO and founder. And then I have Brendan Lee, who will be on it from day 1. Super amazing content. I'm so excited about this. The next summits will be starting the beginning of March. I'm putting together the next summit for beginning of March. However, there's lots of stuff going on in between now and then. So I'm going to drop the link to the event. Go sign up now before Wednesday. Humongous discounts. And this workshop is going to have you're going to be into the situation. We're going to break you up into breakout rooms, and we're going to practice this. What a great time, a great environment to practice this with others who need to practice the same thing. We're all there for the same reason. And then you can take this out. You can take this out and start actually doing this in the field. And I am so excited about this. I love talking about this stuff. So sign up for the event. I'm going to post the link below, and see if I can do this now. I don't think I can, but I'm going to post this link. I'm excited to see you all there. January 15th, sign up begins today. You'll get another email from me a little later today, but you can also just grab these savings from this recording. So see you guys there. I will see you on Wednesday for more, and I will talk to you all very soon.